Hi everybody, welcome back to part 4 of my Christmas Junk Journal series this year. Today I'm going to do pockets and tuck spots on the pages in my journal. So I'm just going to take you through quickly the piles of things I accumulated over the weekend. So this first little pile here is, I just kind of played around with some watercolours on not great quality watercolour paper, but just kind of sort of making an attempt at journaling cards, but I wasn't that happy with many of them. Bits of ephemera, like little doodles, and things that I thought I might want to use in either on pocket decorations or for things like journaling cards. I had quite a good time with my what are they called? They're like glittery pearlized watercolor paints that I used last year. I remembered I had them and dug those out, and they're brilliant for this time of year because they make everything sparkly. And then on top of those, I used some new gel pens I'd bought. So yeah, just playing around really, and then just cut all the shapes out and cut the pieces of paper up just to add to my stash really. So the next pile to look at is just a few photos I'd already printed out, because I'd actually started doing some Christmas preparations, making mixed peel, candied peel, and I actually made some, what's it called, mincemeat the other day, and the smell is amazing. Oh my gosh, I'd do that again just for the smell. That photo of the house just struck me as being lovely. That's a Kit Kat wrapper. In Japan you can't really get Terry's chocolate oranges. And that was the closest thing we found that tasted just as good, orange Kit Kats. Random bits of fabric left over from a patchwork project, and the shopping bag. So the patchwork project is a cushion cover I'm doing for this year, sort of Christmassy. And I thought what I'd do is I'd scan it and print out copies to use as paper. Look at the cute little postman bear. So in here is just all the kind of the book pages and things I'd already had lying around, all big pieces. And then I'd also been going through a pile of magazines and cutting out things that I liked. Some little images and some big spreads that I thought might be quite useful for collage or something. I'm just pausing here to read about witches' balls. It struck me as quite amusing. Lustrous and whimsical. It's those things. Those are witches' balls, apparently. So there you go. You learnt something. Yeah, so these are all like, I basically have to sort those out. Loads of bits from magazines. And I bought these two second-hand, I think they're Sanrio Christmas cards from Japan, because I just thought they were so sort of quaint and sort of cheesy retro. And they've got patchwork on, so that goes with my patchwork. And then this one was a kitchen theme, which was perfect. Yeah, Sanrio. Kitchen themed one, which I thought was really good because a lot of the things in my book are kind of kitchen food themed this year. So I don't know what I'm going to do with those yet, but they're going in the stash, and then we'll hopefully think of a use. So I kind of sorted everything out off camera and put all the small bits into my little file folder that would fit in, and then made a sort of a pile of the larger pieces that I can use for the actual base papers on the table. So I'm all ready to go. So I've been watching a lot of videos by Gail Agostinelli recently, and whilst watching her videos, I made a note on a piece of paper of all the different types of like pockets and tuck spots, just ones that struck me as being quite fun to do. There seems to be like an endless variety of ways to make pockets and tuck spots in your junk journals. Or depending on how you glue paper down, which bits you leave free to like tuck things in, and it's all like origami. You fold paper all different ways, and you can get all different sorts of configurations. So I just sort of wrote down like a basic few that I wanted to go through and try out basically, because this is my first time doing any of them, so I'm just sort of trying as many as I can basically in one journal. So the first thing I'm doing is kind of quite simple double pocket. So that patchwork fabric will be the first pocket, and then the little rolling pin cut out will be the second pocket on the front of it. But the paper's quite thin. Magazine paper's very, very thin and flimsy, so I back it onto just some sort of A4 washi printer paper, just to strengthen it. So I love these rolling pins. I love the way they're sort of aged on the handles. The colours are all sort of faded. I think they're American vintage rolling pins I got from an American magazine. So as you can see there, where you put the glue creates your pocket. And I'm sure I can't credit who came up with all these ideas, because there's quite a lot of fancy paper manoeuvres coming up later that I think have been invented by various YouTubers, but I can't possibly find out who did them all originally. But if you go and watch some of Gail Agostinelli's videos, you'll see she explains them a lot better. Just adding a little bit of washi there, mainly to strengthen that top edge, because I'm planning to use that as the pocket edge. I don't want to get a paper cut every time I put my thing in inside and out. So I'm sort of rummaging around now thinking, do I want to put something else on there? And this is where, you know, my desk gets completely ridiculously messy, because everything comes out and I don't put any of it back for ages. So you'll have to bear with the mess, basically. So I stuck that little holly leaf on just as a little extra doodad, and I'm pleased with that for now. So I move on to the next one. So the next one I try is, I don't know what it's called, but I'm calling it, it's like a corner pocket, but it has 2 little tuck spots. A tuck spot is like a small pocket, so you just tuck something in. It's not really like doesn't hold much. As far as I know, I don't know. So I'm just choosing paper now to make the folded down corner pocket. So the way it works is the corner that's folded down, if you only glue on that corner where my finger is, you can tuck things sort of under the flaps each way, and then obviously use the actual triangle main thing as a pocket. I didn't like this, the watercolour paper I'm using with the green pattern. When I did it, I didn't like it, and I thought, oh well, you know, I enjoyed making it, but I didn't think much of it. And I actually use a lot of it. In fact, I think I use it all up fairly quickly. So I sew the edges of that pocket down. I just nip outside, use my sewing machine and sew those down. But the corner there, I glue. I use a little glob of glue there. So then it's adding a bit more decoration to that back pocket. And I end up using these because I think the sort of the green of the handle, greeny blue of the top rolling pen handle matches the green of the pocket. I'm like, yep, that one's done. And next one I try is, it's sort of like a double pocket, like I did at the beginning, like one pocket above the other, with 2 triangular angled tuck spots at the bottom. So I'm choosing a paper for the base first, and I'm using this magazine paper here. I think it's from Country Living. The British, I don't know if they do that in America, but it's a British magazine. And it always has really nice sort of rustic farmhouse, crafty country sort of vibe to it, which is really nice. So I'm using a bit of my watercoloured paper for that second main pocket. And then I pull out that nice patterned paper to make the 2 little triangular angled pockets. And it takes me a while to get them the right way around. Because I end up with 2 the same, and then I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't work. But eventually I get there, and I have my 2 crisscross triangle pockets ready to go down. And the edge of that watercolour paper is curled up, so I'm just trying to sort of flatten it out a bit more, and then edge it with a bit of washi to give it a little bit extra strength. So this is a washi tape from last year, and I believe it was from, I don't know actually, I think it was Seria or Daiso, which are 100 yen shops here in Japan. And then I decided to use a little bit of fabric scrap left over from my patchwork project, and I fray the edges because it looks a bit nicer. And it's going to fray anyway. So I sew that bit along the top, so that's sewn down. And now it's a case of assembling and sticking. And remembering to glue the right edges. Sorry, I'm a bit off camera here. I spent ages trying to get the camera set up before I filmed. I ended up standing on my desk, peering through the camera screen, trying to make sure I had everything in frame. I think it's okay, let me know if not. So that's all the pockets glued onto that one. So I'm just showing you like the various places you can tuck things in. Just cleaning a bit of the glue off my desk. Okay, next up I'm doing what I'm calling like long edge tucks. Basically, you just fold a piece of paper over the edge of the page, and if you glue along just the top and the bottom, you end up with a long pocket on each side of that page. So I'm just using up some of that nice magazine paper and edging it with some washi tape from last year. One of my favourite ones. Just to kind of make the edge less sharp, basically. So this is like the simple version. And later on, well, next I think, I'm going to do sort of like a zigzag double flap version. But this one, you just literally glue along the top, glue along the bottom, and then you've got a space to tuck on that side and on that side. So that one is done. Nice and simple. So the next one, I think I saw in one of Gail's videos, because she did a lot of things with recycled envelopes. So I'd grabbed an envelope just to sort of explain what you do. So you use the sort of the flap of the envelope as an extra tuck spot. But I'm not actually going to use the envelope. So I rummage around for a piece of paper to use instead. And I decide on this one because I really like the sort of vintagey, what do they call it? Kitschy? Like fruit and veg baubles there. Goes with my foodie theme, I guess. If I have a theme. I don't know if I have a theme. Not an intentional theme. But yeah. I guess my Christmas card this year had a lot of like foodie plates and crockery on, so I'm sort of heading down that food and kitchen crockery route, I think. So I sort of folded it into a zigzag, so you can see you get the extra tuck spot on the one side. I mean, you could do it on both sides, but I just did it on one. And I want to edge it, but the problem is I'm using quite a wet glue with the magazine paper, and because the magazine paper is thin, the wet glue is obviously wrinkling it up. So, you know, if I was going to be a perfectionist about it, I wouldn't use that glue. But quite frankly, I'm just using up the glue I have because we bought a whole box of it. When we were living in Mexico, we went to Costco, I think. And it was like a giant box of glue. And my husband was like, oh, come on, you're not going to use all of that. And I'm like, I shall. So I feel like I've got to use it all up now. West not, want not. I have to use it. Not allowed to buy any more glue until I've used it. It's basically like what school kids use, I'm afraid. Nothing fancy. But it glues, so, you know, does the job. So there I am, sticking more bits of green watercolour paper on the edges, and I just run a very, very, very super thin line of washi tape over the edge, just to make it look a little bit fancy. And that's basically it for that one, I think. And when I come to stick it in, I'll decide which way up it goes. Okay, the next one, it was a bit of a tricky one, and I kind of made a hash of it, to be honest, but a bit of a mess of it. But it was another envelope trick, and it was like from Gail's videos, and it was something called like secret journaling pocket thing. So you can have millions of different pockets once you stick it in the page, but you also have a little flap that flaps up that you can do like secret journaling or whatever, or just put something in there and have various like tucky spots on the back. But again, I'm not going to use the envelopes, so I need to kind of work out how to do it with a piece of paper. So I don't know about anybody else, but I find it easier to work out how to do things by doing it. Like, not thinking too hard. I'm learning that the trick with junk journals is not to think too hard. Not to be perfectionist, obviously, and to just do stuff. Just do it. See what happens, basically. So once I've decided on the paper, I just start folding, basically. And see what happens. And in hindsight, probably it would have been better to fold the corner down first to the middle and then fold that long edge over. But I don't know, doesn't matter, does it? So that's the basic sort of design idea, as far as I know. So then it's a case of decorating it, because that's obviously quite plain paper. So I just grab, to be honest, I think I just grab what's nearest to me at this point. Because, I have so much stuff. I've got so many pieces of paper and bits and bobs and this and that. It's overwhelming. And if I went through every single choice and was like, oh, maybe this one, this would be 7 hours long. So I'm just sort of grabbing random things by this point. And probably if I did this again, I wouldn't stick so many tough pieces on that flap, because that flap's actually quite difficult to get in and out now, because I made it so sort of thick and stodgy with all the glue and the paper and things. But whatever, doesn't matter, does it? So that's gone down, sort of like random patchwork papers, and then I just want to decorate that long edge. So I just use the reverse of my patchwork project. And at this point I've got like an excess of glue over the edge, and I'm like, oh, I should probably just wait for that to dry. But then I don't. Can't be bothered. So I stick it together, and I basically think, well, if it's not supposed to be stuck together, so I'll cut it later on. But I can't be bothered to wait for the glue to dry. So a quick check in the book to make sure it makes sense, and it does. I'll obviously, have to trim that edge off and re-stick it, but that's fine. That's that one done. So the next one is kind of like the previous one, but it's a simpler version. So just a sort of like a corner flip tuck. Oh dear, I don't know what they're called. There's probably like technical terms, but I don't know what they are. Kind of like the one we just did, but without the journaling flip up secret thing, basically. So you can do this with just a square of paper folded into a triangle. And I just left that extra bit flapped up because it was there, really. But all you're doing is basically making a pocket, a corner pocket, but it also flips up, so you can like stick things underneath as well. So decorating again with a bit of washi tape. This is stuff that doesn't really stick very well, but I just love it, so I'm using it. So the whole way through this video, I'm sort of using that bamboo bone folder to demonstrate where all the various places are for tucking things and putting things in pockets and things, just so that you can see how they work. So the next thing I'm like trying to work out how to do is like just like a little corner, a mini corner tuck spot, double-sided. So you sort of tuck it over both sides of the page. And again, I'm just sort of making it up as I go along by folding pieces of paper. So I'm using some of my sort of painted doodled frames that I made at the weekend. I don't know why I've got a thing about frames. I love drawing sort of frames and borders. But I suppose I could make them into dinner plates, couldn't I? I could put little bits of food on them. And that's my theme that I'm apparently developing. So yeah, that's how that will work. And then I make another one, a bigger one, because that seems so tiny to me. I'm like, well, how would anything, I'm not sure that anything would stay under it if you tuck something in it. So I do a bigger one. So this is more like a pocket version, this one. And again, I stick one of my frames on. And even though I've already put glue on it, I suddenly decided I need to put something underneath it. But that glue takes ages to dry, so I've got plenty of time to faff around. So that goes on there. And then I use my little random shaped stickers that got cut off my the advent circles for my son. So I knew they'd come in handy, and they did. And they're really satisfying to stick down. It's a bit like sticking fish scales down or mermaid scales down. Just randomly, kind of like lacy edged dinner plates, I guess, again. Kind of pattern. Or leaves. So I just whack them down, job done. Quite like that effect. And then I'm like, I need to put something along the bottom, I feel like. And I know a lot of scrapbookers and junk journals would do, what's it called, like a sentiment, when you get like a word or whatever, and you put it across the bottom. But I couldn't think of anything, so I just figured I'd work that out later, basically. And again with the frame / dinner plate. Or a porthole. No, it's a dinner plate, definitely a dinner plate. And I just go around the edge with the very thin washi here. And I think it's quite a nice effect. It looks a bit like a handkerchief or a blanket or something. Quite like that. So that's that one done. Bear with me, there's not that many more. So I've done my little corner pieces. So the next one is a fairly simple one. Just a double corner triangle pocket. And I do one for the left page and one for the right. So this is the double pockets for the left. So this is, fairly straightforward. You're just creating 2 triangle shapes, which will then go on a page and give you 2 pockets to tuck things in. So I'm just using my book now to make sure I've got the right width. And I'm really happy because I started to use some of my Eloise paper at this point. So I sewed around the edge with a red zigzag stitch. I thought it would look quite nice. And then the other side, for the right hand side, I wanted to use some of the paper that shows the floor map of the plaza where Eloise lives, because I like maps, basically, that's why. And it makes a nice pattern, an interesting pattern. And a bit more magazine paper for the bigger pocket. So again, I sew around that one, sew around the edges. And then that's those 2 completed. So one for the left page and one for the right page. Right, next up is envelopes. So I have these 2 stencils for 2 different shapes of envelope. And one of them is sort of like, I don't know if it's the Japanese style envelope or what, but like a long sort of boxy envelope with the fastening at the top, the short end. So I just grabbed some magazine paper to make these. And I don't check what's on the back particularly. I mean, I know what's on the back. It's a lovely picture of a Christmas tree. But I'm not like lining up the pattern properly, because by this point I'm just like, I just want to make it. So it works out fine. It looks all right, so it's fine. So this is quite a small envelope, this one. And I use way too much glue, but hey. And I just grab a random piece of paper that was right in front of me and decide to stick that on, because I'm obviously getting in the flow here and just going with things. So this one can be stuck on various ways, and the way you stick it on itself can also make a pocket. For example, if you only glue 3 sides, you've got the other side free for a pocket. And the same with the larger envelope. I've just not nudged the camera there. So this is like the Western style envelope, the envelope I'm sort of used to seeing, with the triangle-y flaps. I was quite pleased because I managed to get there's a little sort of wooden doll on the other side, and I managed to get her on the envelope showing, so that was good. Later on, off camera, I embellish the envelopes a lot more. I add more things. I doodle on them. I just go completely over the top as usual. So you'll see at the end of this video, I'll do like a flip of how I put all the pockets into the book. You'll see how completely different they look. And here I'm just showing you different ways you can stick it in. You could tip it in with washi tape, or you can fold it over the edge, which I think that's what I decided to do. Glue it over the edge, and then it sort of flips out. So I'm just sort of showing you here different ways to add things in without using a pocket, because I had those on my notes from Gail's video. Tipping in with washi tape onto the page just to sort of make extra flaps for journaling on and things like that. You can also do something that's called a belly band, which is when you get a strip of paper across the page. You only glue the left and the right, and then you can, put things inside it, tuck things in that way. And I believe you could do them at an angle in the corner, or you can do them at the top, or if it was longer, you could do one top to bottom. So I'm probably actually going to use that one as a belly band a bit later on. And you can do double flips, you can do shaped ones, you can use fabric, you can just get completely carried away and just fill your entire book with flaps and pockets and then not have any time to journal, which is what I feel like I might end up doing. It's just so addictive, and then you've got all this paper in front of you, you're just like, oh, and use this, and use this, and use this. And this last one I'm showing, I don't actually use this when I finally stick everything in, but I'm just showing you how you can stick envelopes together, like in a sequence, and then you attach the top one, and then you fold the other ones up, so it ends up as like a really lovely pull-out thing. So I've seen this on quite a lot of YouTubers' channels. It's quite fun. So I might do one of those, but I haven't decided yet if I will. But that's another idea. And one more thing I think I'm going to show is if you've got a page which has a picture on you don't really want to cover up, you can actually extend, you can just add something on the side, a sheet of paper, and fold it out and do your journaling in there and stick things on it. So that's another option. I'm just very quickly showing you another idea I had. I think I've seen this before. It's not my idea. Of like a double pocket, and you can use this hole punch. If you've got a circle punch, you can only use like half of the punch, and it creates these like little notches, which makes it easier to get your bits and bobs in and out of the pockets. So you can do a double double pocket, and as long as you only glue around the sides and the bottom, you can have a double pocket thing on a page. So that's another idea. You could also make it into a pocket by only gluing 3 sides of it down. Basically, anytime you put any paper in the junk journal, just leave one side free and you've got a pocket. Okay, so I'm just going to show you through what it looks like now I've stuck all my pockets that I've made in. So I actually missed a pocket that needs to go in the front. I forgot to do it before I filmed this, but I'll just show you what I've done so far. So the first one is that corner tuck, which I stuck on there. The next one, I decided to tip that pocket in so that I could journal on the back, because I wanted to keep that gingham pattern free. So I just used washi tape to stick that one in. And this is the envelope, which I doodled on and did gold twiddly bits all over it. So that now flips out. You can put something inside there. So you can see that's the corner of the envelope stuck down there. I stuck my little mixed media bit on. I just used a page from the Eloise book there to make a big full page pocket. And this one I actually did off camera. I need to glue that side. It's just, I just folded a magazine page like concertina into like 3 pockets and just stuck that down. This was another thing I made off camera, just a tiny little envelope, but I cut the top off, like the flap off the top, tipped it in so that I could journal behind it. That's a page from Eloise. And this is another envelope I made off camera. I made it with my shopping bag from Caldi. So here's the right hand side double corner pocket. I stuck a bit of random washi tape down the side there, and I cut out the piece from Eloise, like a tree shape, and tipped that into the spine. I made this large pocket just because I wanted to keep that lovely picture of Christmas tree all in one piece. And there's the left hand double pocket you saw me make. I might decorate the back. Still didn't put anything on that page. And there's a little envelope which I dipped in because I wanted to be able to see both sides. So I can put something in there, but I could also look at the pretty picture on the back if I wanted. That's the corner pocket that flips up for the journaling space underneath. So I decorated and doodled all over that one. That's that piece tucked in as a belly band. I made another Eloise envelope there. So it opens at the left hand side. I can put things in there. That's the little tiny corner tucks that I made around that page. This one I figured I could journal in the white space on the back, and then on the other side it's Eloise enjoying some Christmas punch. I'm sure it's non-alcoholic. There's the long tuck on that side, and I think the pages are glued together. But it looks the same on the other side. And this is the reverse of, I think it's the fancy flip up one that is a bit of a pain to flip up. Yeah, so in there is the bit that you pull up, and I ended up cutting a piece off it, God knows why. But you can write inside there and then tuck it back in again. And otherwise it makes a nice pocket in the top. So I made a long pocket from the ground plan of the Plaza Hotel from Eloise there. A couple of plain pages I need to do something about. This is the double sort of tuck and long pocket I'd made. There's the back of it. There's the pages stuck together, so I'm just taking the glue off. And then this is just a simple pocket I made with one of my favourite pictures from Eloise. And that's the pocket with the tucks underneath the flap. And I think, yes, I made it into a pocket on the left as well. And then I just stuck this one in at the end for a little extra space and to break up that double sort of gingham pattern a little bit. So that's where I've got to so far. I hope it wasn't too tedious watching me faffing around with paper. I hope this is interesting, and I've tried to cram as many ideas for pockets and tucks in as possible. So I hope it inspires you to kind of add some bits into your junk journals, and I'd love to see them. So if anybody's got any videos going or Instagram accounts, please let me know, and I'd love to have a look at them. Okay. Thank you for watching. Hopefully see you in the next video. The next video is going to be things to put in the pockets. I'm going to have a go at making journaling cards. Probably a combination of things I make and then sort of random bits of paper stuck down. So if you want to watch that one, please join me for the next video. All right, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.